In a world that often moves too fast, small acts of kindness and understanding can leave the deepest impact.
どうもお疲れ様です。ビールお願いします。はい。須崎さん、バーで飲むなんて珍しいですね。
お前、どうして俺に呼び出されたか心当たりは？
いや、なんでしょう。
お前、この売買契約の際に故意に説明義務違反を犯して契約にこぎつけただろ
う。申し訳ありません。どうしても契約を決めたかったんで焦ってて。
お前な、重大違反で契約解除になって会社にバレたら莫大な損害を与えて即クビだったんだぞ。
お待たせしました。
会社や他のやつにはバレないように俺が出向いて重要説明きちんとしてきたから。幸いにも飼い主の方は報告漏れっていう形で納得してくれて契約解除にはならなかった。
僕のために須崎さんが動いてくれたんですか？本当にありがとうございます。
Osawa made a mistake during his work due to lack of experience, but fortunately received timely guidance and support from his superior, Mr. Susaki. When Osawa was summoned, there was no dramatic tension, no harsh tone awaiting him. Instead, there was a conversation that would change Osawa's understanding of responsibility forever. Rather than focusing on the mistake itself, Mr. Susaki asked Osawa to walk through his thinking, not to interrogate him, but to understand him. He listened carefully, allowing Osawa the space to speak honestly. Osawa expecting criticism, what came instead was guidance. Clear, patient, and precise. Mr. Susaki explained where the process had gone wrong, why each step mattered, and how experience often comes from moments exactly like this. There was no attempt to shield Osawa from accountability, but there was also no effort to humiliate him. The message was simple and powerful. Mistakes are part of learning, but only if you are willing to reflect on them. When Mr. Suzuki left, Osawa felt transformed, trusted, and motivated to improve. He understanding responsibility as growth. Grateful for a second chance and restored trust, he carried a quiet appreciation, believing true kindness deserves respectful acknowledgement.
ただいま。
おかえりなさい。どうしたの？なんか顔色が悪いみたいだけど。
After returning home, he shared the entire experience with his wife, Natsume. He spoke not with frustration, but with humility. Natsume listened quietly. She had seen this version of him before the thoughtful silence that followed moments of personal reckoning. When Osawa finally admitted that he did not know how to express his gratitude, she smiled gently. Gratitude, she believed, did not need to be elaborate to be sincere. They chatted together, considering what would feel appropriate. Anything extravagant seemed wrong, almost like it would distort the meaning of what had been given. This was not a favor to be repaid, but a lesson to be honored. Eventually, they agreed that a small, thoughtful gesture, something personal rather than expensive, would best reflect their appreciation. The tension he had carried since the mistake slowly eased, replaced by a quiet sense of clarity. For the first time, he felt that this experience had not diminished him, but strengthened him. He was no longer defined by the error itself, but by the way he had responded to it. The next morning, they woke early. There was a sense of purpose in the air, calm but intentional. Natsume carefully wrapped the gift they had chosen, paying attention to small details, while Osawa prepared himself mentally for the visit. He was not nervous in the way he had been before meeting Mr. Susaki. This time, there was no fear, only respect. When they arrived, they were greeted warmly. Mr. Susaki welcomed them as guests, not subordinates, his demeanor relaxed and genuine. The setting felt different outside the workplace context. Without the structure of meetings and schedules, the interaction became more human, more personal. Osawa noticed how easily Mr. Susaki listened, how naturally he made space for others to feel comfortable. As Osawa expressed his thanks, he chose his words carefully. He spoke about what the guidance had meant to him, how it had changed the way he approached his work, and how it had encouraged him to take greater responsibility for his growth. There was no exaggeration, no dramatic tone, just honesty. Mr. Susaki listened, slightly surprised, but clearly touched. Rather than accepting the gratitude with formality, Mr. Susaki responded with humility. He explained that supporting others was part of his own responsibility, and that he believed people did their best work when they felt trusted. He reminded Osawa that everyone starts somewhere, and that experience is built over time, often through moments that feel uncomfortable at first. The conversation flowed naturally after that, moving beyond the incident itself. They spoke about work, about balance, about the importance of learning continuously. Natsume observed quietly, noticing how this exchange was not about hierarchy, but about shared values. It became clear that what Osawa had received was not just guidance, but an example of leadership rooted in empathy. During their conversation with Mr. Suzuki, they realized that there was no sense of obligation fulfilled, no transaction completed. Instead, there was a quiet understanding between them, an acknowledgement that respect, once earned, deepens through sincerity. Osawa felt a sense of relief, not because the past had been erased, but because it had been transformed into something meaningful. For Osawa, his routine was the same on the surface, but internally, his mindset had changed. Each decision carried a quiet awareness of its impact, not driven by fear, but by respect for the trust he had been given. Mistakes did not disappear entirely. They never do. But now, when uncertainty arose, Osawa asked questions instead of making assumptions. He slowed down when accuracy mattered more than speed. And when he noticed small inefficiencies or potential issues, he addressed them early, understanding that responsibility often begins before problems fully form. These were not dramatic changes, but consistent ones, and they began to show. Mr. Susaki noticed as well, though he never pointed it out directly. His leadership style remained unchanged, steady, observant, supportive. There were no public acknowledgments or special treatment, just continued trust. In that consistency, Osawa found motivation. It reinforced the idea that growth does not always need recognition to be real. Outside of work, Osawa found himself reflecting more deeply on what leadership truly meant. He realized that authority alone does not inspire loyalty or improvement. It is the willingness to guide, to listen, and to believe in someone's potential that creates lasting influence. This understanding extended beyond his professional life. In everyday interactions, he became more patient, more attentive, more thoughtful with his words. In that moment, Osawa understood something important. The lesson he had received was not meant to stop with him. By then, Osawa no longer saw his initial mistake as something to regret deeply. Instead, it became a reference point, a reminder of where growth had begun. In the end, this was not a story about a mistake, but about what followed it, about how understanding can transform uncertainty into confidence, and how thoughtful leadership can shape not just outcomes, but people. It is a reminder that when we choose patience over judgment and guidance over blame, we create spaces where growth feels possible and where everyone involved becomes stronger because of it. Mistakes do not define who we are. How we learn from them does. Gratitude, responsibility, and empathy are values that build stronger relationships and better futures. If you found value in this story, please support the channel by liking, subscribing, and sharing. Your support helps us continue bringing thoughtful, inspiring stories to you.